Sometimes whenever I start a show, I have to do that to like just remember how my mouth works. Have you ever realized that? I've worked in radio and audio for a long time, and video as well. So sometimes like your mouth won't work, and you have to kind of figure out like, what am I going to do to make this thing work today? Like that sometimes works. Wasn't that Brick from Anchorman who originally did that in Anchorman? I think maybe. Perhaps I'm right, perhaps I'm totally wrong. Either way, I should probably start rambling and just welcome everybody. Hey, so Alex Hazard's on this episode. Alex already was on an episode. I brought him back because we had such a fun conversation. We both work in the world of personality. Is that a field of work? Or I don't think it is a field of work, but we both are personalities. He's a TV personality. I used to be a radio personality. Now I'm just like on the internet, I'm a social media influencer. Oh, nobody likes that term. It sounds so corny and stupid. But I don't know how else to describe myself sometimes. So if you guys aren't aware, listening, I have a social media marketing consulting agency. You can find all the information at robzradio.com. You can also find all the information on my Facebook and Instagram, robzradio. Snapchat, Twitter is robzyo. Shameless plugs are necessary at the top of the show. And if you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/RobZRadio. Donate $1 to the show so I can go buy a Kit Kat. Kit Kats, I think, cost more than $1. I'm pretty sure. I can't confirm that right now. I'm not going to take the time to Google it, but at least you can help me fund towards the Kit Kat. Patreon.com/RobZRadio. If you donate $1, though, I will personally call you up on the phone and we can chat about literally anything that you want, because I would love to talk to you and just like find out what you're all about. See what your biz is all about. Like, who are you? You're a human being. You're a human being, for crying out loud. I respect you. So, shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to the Clay Cup, 1304 11th Avenue in Altoona. Sarah Vogel runs the Clay Cup. She's a sweetheart, and so is everybody else who works there. Plus, they have sweet items. I guess you got to be a sweetheart to sell sweet items. Now, I've known some grumpy people before who sold sweet things. So I take back everything that I just said. At the Clay Cup on Facebook and Instagram. So, coffee, tea, and creativity. You can even buy some creativity. She said she should sell a tea that's called Creativity. I'm getting off track. It's falling apart. I love tea and I enjoy coffee every now and then. It's usually the other way around. People usually love coffee and like tea every now and then, but they really take the time at the Clay Cup to perfect a beverage, to perfect the tea. They let the tea bag steep. I didn't even know what the word steep meant until I met Sarah Vogel. And it has nothing to do with how tall a mountain is or how hard it is to climb, right? It's an amazing place to go to meet people and have a great time, the Clay Cup in Altoona. Shout out also to Harlequin Pepper Yoga. I love yoga, and I love what Erin does at Harlequin Pepper Yoga. So you can use a discount code right now, which is RobZ. If you find her in the store at 320 Allegheny Street in Hollidaysburg, or if you search Harlequin Pepper Yoga in the App Store or on Google Play, say Rob Z, or type in the word Rob Z as the code word. Get 1 month free toward a 6-month or a year membership. Booyah! How's that for you? And yoga will fix your body and change your life. So I'm helping you save money, and I'm also fixing your body. It's amazing. I love what Erin does. Vinyasa yoga, rooted in science, focusing on functional movement and anatomical alignment, and also a shout out to Juice. That's Joos. 517 Allegheny Street in Hollidaysburg. When you're done at Harlequin Pepper Yoga, walk down the street to Juice. It's a great recovery spot. Cold pressed juice and smoothies, smoothie bowls, bone broth, hot soups, raw vegan baked goods. Everything is all fresh. Everything is made to order. You'll never get like the same thing twice, right? Even if you buy the same item, it's going to taste different. It's going to look a little bit different. It's going to have a little bit more, a little bit less of certain ingredients in it because they make everything from scratch right there at Juice. That's what's fascinating about it. That's what I love about Juice. That's why I love the sponsors on this podcast, because they are super passionate about the things they do, and they're like actually personally involved in all the things that they do. Speaking of that, that's what Alex Hazard is. He's personally involved in his world because it's his world. That makes sense, right? Screw it. He's from Central PA Live. Let's start the show. Let's go. It's Rob Z Radio. Booyah!
This is Rob Z Radio.
All right, and we're live. Welcome.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That's just to get you amped up. Did you feel amped?
I feel...
Awesome. Alex Hazard's here on the podcast
God, that
again.
was funny.
Welcome to the studio. So what we were just talking about a second ago was the word personality, right? Because you're...
Wait, no, we have to tell everybody why I'm laughing like a fool. So we were just talking about, last time I was on the show, the intro to the Rob Z Radio podcast was like a half an hour. And
it's like 15 seconds.
And I spent like half an hour of the podcast talking about how long the intro was. So this time, he said it, I don't know, it's like 5 seconds. And then just to be sure, it counted the 5 seconds out loud.
It literally is 5 seconds. So I wanted to make sure when you came in here, you weren't bored by a 30-minute introduction. But
oh, man.
we were saying about being personalities. Like if you had a definition, they were like, "Well, define your what you do."
And what I was saying is that I think that there are people that have a character. Like for example, like Gilbert Gottfried. I think that's a character he puts on, right?
Yeah.
For me,
I hope so.
For the sake of his children, I hope so. Can you imagine Gilbert Gottfried being your dad?
Out of all the comedians ever, one of the most. I mean, if you enjoy him, I apologize.
I do enjoy him as a character for 10 minutes.
Oh, so obnoxious. Yet he has some really filthy comedy that I do find
It's
hilarious
hysterical.
because you wouldn't see the way he talks and stuff. I wouldn't imagine him being really filthy, but then he is, and it's like, wow.
Right,
okay.
yeah. And his wife is like beautiful, and he has this beautiful family and this like normal. I watched a documentary on him a couple of weeks ago.
There's a Gilbert Gottfried
Yeah,
documentary.
look, it's on Hulu.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But he's been around for like 30
Right, well,
years.
because you know what happened. You remember it was after the tsunami.
The Asian tsunami?
I think it was, I can't remember where. I don't know if it was a tsunami, an earthquake. It was some
Natural disaster.
Some natural disaster.
Rainstorm.
Yeah, and so anyway, it was when he was the Aflac duck.
Which built for him. That role
Right,
was built for him.
and he also played like the bird in Aladdin. He's like has a voice of a bird. But anyway, he lost. Yeah, he lost.
Here's my Gilbert Gottfried. Ah! There's not even a word. It's just noises.
Yeah, I mean, and so anyway, he lost the Aflac gig because he tweeted something about
Duck hate.
it was something about this natural disaster that was like insensitive and really inappropriate. But I think I don't know. We could get in a whole debate about why
He's a stand-up comedian,
right? And they always cross the line, and they move the line, and then they cross it, and then they move the line, and they cross it again. You know, it's their job. But anyway, as a personality.
It was a good detour.
I gotta tell you, I got a bad case of the gigs tonight. I'm sorry.
He's gigging it up, ladies and gentlemen. Who's your favorite comedian? Just to go to
Favorite
that.
comedian?
Do you have like a?
Well, David Letterman probably.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love Dave Letterman. We talked about this last.
Would
time,
you is David Letterman considered a stand-up? I guess he's not a stand-up comedian.
Sure,
he could be considered a comedian.
I love all of the classic guys. I like.
That's the most cliche thing anybody could
know,
say.
I know, and here's the thing, is I like some of the like I like a Chelsea Handler. I used to like a Kathy Griffin. I think she did cross the line a little bit there, but I still think she's funny. But I can only take so much of it, and I have to be like, I would never watch one of those comedians with other people in the room. I don't want people to know that I think that stuff's funny.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, I get really. It's like embarrassing, you know.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Well, I could see if certain people. I used to feel that way, and then I was like, you know what? What I love, and really podcasting, because every comedian now has a podcast,
right?
So you can actually listen to them and like find out what they're really like,
Sure, yeah.
instead of just their stand-up. Which stand-up's always amplified. I always look at it like professional wrestling. It's like they take their real life personality, then they just throw it over the edge, and they'll just say things to get a reaction. I mean, that's half the point of stand-up comedy. So I often think like, man, if they can be like that, that's so cool that they're able to live their life that way. I wish I could like be that free with my words and just throw stuff out there. But they do. They'll cross the line on purpose.
Yeah, I think so.
Just to get reactions. That's part of their personalities.
Who is your favorite comedian?
Dave Chappelle across the board probably is.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I don't know. That's the same exact sort of thing I was just thinking.
Oh,
like,
so cliche.
Well, not even cliche,
Oh.
just he says such embarrassing things.
Oh yeah. It's all the stuff I'd like to be able to go up there and do that, and I don't. Have
But I don't
guts,
really
so you
relate
can't.
to any. I mean, a lot of the stuff that he makes jokes about, I don't think I've never come across some of those things in my life.
I'd say Chappelle or Louis C.K. kills me. Off the top of my head, those are the two that really stand out.
Did you see the stuff at Louis C.K.? He was part of the Me Too stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And not to say, and by the way, not to say that I obviously stand on the side of the Me Too movement, but was anybody really surprised that Louis C.K.? I mean, look at his act.
He basically says
He basically was
in
confessing
his
to
act.
it for 20 years.
Yeah, I know. That's the funny part. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like surprising, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, that's what he was doing was disgusting and weird and like just bizarre. Like the fact that he never even like touched the women. It was just making them watch, and it's like,
Let's
what
not get into
are
it.
you
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
What? But anyways, that's probably just and that's probably like an insecurity power trip kind of thing. You got this power, you're insecure,
Sure, yeah.
so you want to like however that comes out, it comes out. But I try to take like if something bad, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I know he cheated on his wife a bunch of times and knocked up the housemaid. Like it's ridiculous, and that is ridiculous. But he has a lot of accomplishments that I can admire, aside from the adultery.
Sure.
But
I think, I mean,
everybody that I admire, I think that of. Like, there's probably something about somebody that I really like that I'd find out and be like, ugh, I don't like that.
I say
part
that
of
about
him.
Letterman, right? He's one of my biggest idols in the world. I think if his scandal happened now, he would have lost everything. I think.
Did he have a scandal? When was that?
Years ago, he did the thing with the intern.
Oh, really?
And so anyway, I don't know if you remember it. So basically,
no,
what
I
happened
don't.
was there was a former intern who eventually, when he had his relations with her, which was no longer an intern. But
I love that term, relations. It's so like subtle.
Right, yeah. So anyway, it was like years later, and she was trying to blackmail him.
Oh.
And for I'm going to tell the world that you did this to me, or give me.
And he's married.
And he's married, and so rather than being blackmailed and all this stuff, he just came out in his monologue and said, "Hey, I have something to tell you, everybody."
Oh,
and
wow.
It came clean. I was like, you know what? If not to like
That's
the
a
first
smart
the
move
first
on
the
his
first
part.
step is to not do it. The second step is if you do it, own it up, apologize, and move on.
Yeah, but you usually don't own up, apologize, and move on until somebody threatens you with bringing the information out. Then you're like, oh, crap. Now I have to admit it. Like, you're not just...
Right, yeah.
He's not going to come out one night at random and be like, you know what? I did cheat on my wife. Like, that wouldn't happen.
Sure,
But once
yeah.
his back's against the wall, yeah, that was the right move to go with. So we were talking about, like, personalities, and you said that you didn't really know... Like, you don't know why anybody...
I don't know why. Like, here's the thing. I know that I don't, and not but at the risk of sounding conceited or whatever. I know that I'm good at my job, but I don't see the appeal myself. Like, I would never watch me. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't find myself entertaining. I think that I try to entertain people, and then I always watch it back, and I think, God, that was stupid. But people love it, and I'm happy that they love it.
Yeah, I've thought that a million times, too, about myself. I don't know. It seems like you have a built-in personality, right? Like, you naturally are this person.
Right.
Funny, lots of energy, boisterous.
Well, and I talk to this with friends that are in the business all the time about they always talk about turning it on, and they always talk, and especially my friends that work in the news business, they have a different voice they use.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just not me. For me, I am who I am all the time, 100% of the time, 7 days a week, 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that's what works.
And
That's what works the best.
But here's the thing. I'm not doing news. I'm not doing anything. It's a lifestyle show, and I'm lucky.
You're not reading a teleprompter.
I am reading a teleprompter, but
not really.
I'm terrible at it because I barely know how to read. No.
Right. You're taking bullet points from a teleprompter.
Yeah, I'm taking bullet points from a teleprompter. And,
You see every like eighth word.
right. And here's the thing: is like when I mess up on something, or when you mess up on something, especially when you're reading, we can laugh and move on. It's not like a newscast where you're talking about somebody's life or somebody's business or somebody's livelihood, whatever. We're talking about, Justin Bieber got engaged. Who cares?
And you can make fun of it.
Yeah.
Well, somebody will get offended, I guess, but I mean, really, it's ridiculous
okay.
they do. But that's why I never, and I respect newscasters, because that would be a hard job.
Oh, it's the hardest
to
job.
Deliver that news, and it's usually not very happy news.
Well, I have to tell you, this is the first time in my life that I've worked in a newsroom. and I have more respect for my colleagues than I've ever had for my colleagues before because that's not true. I love my former colleagues if you're watching. But
All the other ones, no respect.
no,
Just
but
the newest.
I will say that they are dedicated. They have this they call it journalistic responsibility, which holy
The
crap,
integrity.
it's this got to be this weight on their shoulders all the time. I personally could not do what they do every day, so I have a lot of respect for them. But
Yeah, but you're right. They do. They turn on a voice.
They
and,
have because you
I'm
have to.
Dan Rather.
I feel like they have to keep it separate, right?
Yeah.
And for us, it is what it is.
Well, I used to feel that way in radio. I had a radio voice. I turned the microphone on. It was like I got really loud and talked like this. And my wife always made fun of me, and she'd be like, "Rob, you're not being the Rob I know. You're being this character."
Right.
And I think that's through YouTube. I think a lot of the social media has helped to break down that wall of you don't need to be a character anymore.
Well, and I think people find it more. Yeah, people like the relatable. Well, you were saying earlier like how this is kind of who I am. There was one night I was at a bonfire and there were some people visiting my friends from out of town, and the one kid goes, "You're like a cartoon character," and I was like, "Thanks." I don't know what that means, but I feel like that is true. I like to put energy into things, but it's real energy. It's genuine.
Yeah.
I like to be genuine.
Yeah. And that's a compliment. I mean, I guess you could have been offended by the cartoon character comment, but like
I just took another bite of my hamburger and moved on.
because you naturally have a bunch of energy and you're like,
well, life's
loud
short
and exciting.
and we should be happy about stuff. I came in today after work and I was like kind of complaining a little bit.
burnout.
Yeah, I was a little burned out, and I thought, and then I don't know if you noticed, there was like a switch that was like, you just complained for 5 minutes about something that completely doesn't matter, and tomorrow you're going to be able to do a full another hour of it.
Yeah. Do you have a thing with complaining? Like you'll catch yourself doing it and turn it off?
I hate when I complain. I'm complaining about complaining right now. I do hate when I complain.
So you shut it off. You'll be like, oh no, I'm complaining.
Yeah.
Turn it off right
Yeah.
now.
And I have certain people that I can call, and I use them as like my vent. You know what I mean? So, okay, I have an 8-minute ride home from work if I need, and by the way, it doesn't happen often, but when I have those days I need to vent, I take 8 minutes, I call X, Y, or Z person, we get it out on the table, and then I'm done, because I'm not going to live in it.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff doesn't matter.
That's how you stay positive. That's a good move on doing it. You kind of
Oh,
you have to get it out, like get the information out, but like in a short spurt, and then just move on from it.
Yeah, because there are people that bottle it up and then they explode. That's not me. And I don't know. My parents kind of always said, like if, for example, if I grew up in a house with my mom and my stepdad, and then I saw my dad regularly as well. He was alwads a part. But when my mom and my stepdad were to have an argument or whatever, every family has bumps. It was like an immediate, okay, family meeting. We're going to talk about what happened, and then then that was it. Then it was done. And so that I like that. And so
Yeah, instead of just stewing on it,
right,
and living with it for like 15 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it.
There's people that do that.
Yeah.
And then they
their
just
whole
like grow
life.
up these like miserable people that no one wants to.
You
be
walk around all day with a bunch of anger in your head, and you're just
Yeah.
mad. Honestly, that was a lot of my life, my younger years. One of the things that always makes me angry, no matter what, and I have a podcast episode about this, doing the dishes. Like I'll be in a great mood, start to do the dishes, and then like negative thoughts will just start coming to my head, and I'll like think of people and be like, oh yeah, I really don't like when they did this thing to me. Oh yeah, and my back will start tightening up, and I'm like, I hate these dishes, man. I just gotta get them done.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a weird thing I have.
That's really
so
weird.
now I try to use doing the dishes as a method of like, hey Rob, you're getting angry. Why don't you calm down a little bit? You're lucky you have these dishes. You're lucky you have this dishwasher. Hey, you have a house. Your brain works. Like things are good.
You know what though? I will say this because there are people, and including myself, that when something is happening, you're like, well, there's starving kids in Africa, and it's like, it doesn't mean that you can't be upset about the petty thing that you're upset about, but just put a time limit on it.
Like I can't think about all those starving kids in other countries. That's a lot for my mental space to understand all of that.
No,
and I'm sure
not
they
saying
are
that.
out there.
No, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm saying that those things exist, and I'm not taking away from the importance of that by being angry about something on this level. I just have to eventually put it in perspective.
We have these stupid first world problems that we have to deal with, and they're stupid. We don't have real issues, right?
No.
We have all of our basic needs covered, so we have to find random things to get annoyed and angry about.
Sure.
And I think no matter what, like even once, like if you're living in utopia and everything is like total bliss, you're still going to be like, like it wasn't sunny enough out today, or
his cloud is too comfy.
like, everything's too good right now. I'm afraid it's all gonna fall apart.
Right.
You know, there's always like some kind of worry that's gonna like creep in. I always think that like people want like this perfect like utopian world, and it's like, well, once you got there, what are you gonna do then?
Right.
You're gonna be miserable in utopia.
It's the bad things that make the good things seem good. I think it's
you need you need a little bit. It's the yin and the yang.
right. It's like if you went on vacation every day, what would be vacation?
It wouldn't even be. There'd be no point. I love going on vacation.
This is
but
a
only for
deep
couple of
conversation. I feel like Oprah.
days. We got to bring a few guests out here. And welcome now, your long lost brother. And here he comes.
Yeah.
I should start doing like a Maury kind of show and doing paternity tests.
So do you know that I used to work on the Steve Wilkos show?
The what?
Steve Wilkos. So he was Jerry Springer's bodyguard.
Steve.
Yeah,
the bald guy.
I used to work on his show.
No way.
Yeah,
He has a
and
show?
He has a show. He has his own spin-off show.
What is he just bodyguarding people? What's he doing?
No, so he's doing the mix of like the Jerry Maury thing. And so I was there for like 3 months. It was not. I wouldn't say. I will say it was not fun.
Is it? It's on now. Like
yeah,
it's still on TV.
It's still on.
Like daytime television.
It's on daytime. I don't know what channel, but
wow.
yeah.
I had no idea.
And so basically what they do is they say, all right, this person abused this person, and this person doesn't believe them, and they're all somehow intermingled. And then they put them all on a stage together and have them fight it out.
And do you think it's real? Or
No, I know it is real because I will tell you, one of my jobs.
Well, you were there.
One of my jobs was to call people and find these people, or to answer phone calls coming in.
You were one of those people
I was
who found them.
And here's what I will say about working at the show: the people that work there, and I don't know if what I'm allowed to talk about, but what I will say is the people that work there truly believe that they're helping these people because they're getting them the answers that they want and need.
So they don't feel like they're exploiting them in front of a live
and
audience.
I felt like it was an extreme exploitation of poor people. And I say poor people because most of the people that I dealt with were from extremely poor communities, and the reason we got them there was because they had never left, and the reason they were able to the reason they came was because I called them and said, we're going to give you a free hotel room, you're going to eat all the Buffalo Wild Wings you can eat, and we're going to give you as many cigarettes as you want to smoke.
I mean, personally, I would. Besides the cigarettes, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Right.
Like that's awesome. Bring me in.
Yeah.
So you don't pay them. They don't get paid.
They're not paid, but they're true stories, and that's one thing. Is a lot of people think that these are made up stories, and that's why it's okay to laugh. But it's not. It's the reason I wasn't okay with laughing is because these are true people's lives, and
man, you're actually seeing it behind
and like
the
what
scenes.
I mean when I say I was there like 3 months, I would go home and cry. I mean, it was
really?
like, it was bad.
Because you actually had to deal with the people when they came in. And
yeah, and so that was a big part of my job was calling them, making sure, like a lot of them, like I said, had never left their town. So walking them through like connecting flights, as you can imagine, very difficult. Sometimes if they couldn't afford a phone, sending them a phone and then keeping them on the phone the whole time. I mean, it was like,
wow.
It was really intense. It was not.
Because they were just unable to understand how.
Right. And so the one positive story I always like when I talk about Steve Wilkos, I will say this is that the people that work on the show and do the show want to do good. Steve, I didn't interact with him hardly at all. I think I met him a couple times in the hallway.
Did you meet Springer at all?
I met him once at a bar that was nearby.
Okay.
Nearby this.
You didn't like talk to him though. Just like
no, he bought us a round of shots, which was fun.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But I will say that.
Was it Springer Break? Were you on Springer Break?
I was not on Springer. But what I will say is that the people wanted to do good, and so there was this one story that I was working on. I don't know if you remember this years ago, right when Reddit was really big. Reddit's an online blogging, whatever.
Yeah, it's like the source of the internet. It's
right?
Like
it's like where internet geeks hang out.
It's like where it begins.
Yeah,
any like
so
meme or anything.
they held this contest where you would take pictures and you would Photoshop the picture, and whoever I don't know, it was like they were trying to they were trying to make each other laugh, I think. And so anyway, there was this picture of a cheerleader getting thrown up in the air, and the girls under weren't catching her. So somebody photoshopped in poop coming out of the girl's skirt.
I've seen that. It's not real.
It's not real. And so
I've always thought
the girls look scared, and it's terrible. Well, here's the thing. These are real teenage girls. Can you remember being a teenager and how awful it was?
Right.
And so
that could ruin your whole
So these girls' lives are being ruined. I'm still friends with their mom on Facebook.
Also, this was a Steve episode.
So this was the episode. This was like my pride and joy of those 3 months working there, was because I was like, okay, this is a story where we could actually make a difference. We did. It was right when I don't want to say right when bullying, like, or online bullying was
a hot
vogue,
topic.
but it was a hot topic, and so it like took some convincing, but then essentially what we did is we had the girl on that was like in the photo,
The one who was
and
splattering the poo.
Yeah, and she.
The feces? Should I?
I don't know. I feel bad because this girl really, I mean, it ruined her life.
Well, no, I'm describing the meme. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, so it was the girl from the photo that was being thrown up in the air, and she that had the poop photoshopped in. And so anyway, we had them on the show, and it was a really good episode, and they still rerun it sometimes, and I've seen it since, and that was a proud moment for me because I thought here's an example of when we were really helping somebody. Here is a girl that got to speak out about something that happened to her, and I think that changed her life for the better.
Why were the girls who were on the bottom? Why were they all looking afraid? Like
because they dropped, because they didn't throw her, because they weren't ready to catch her.
Okay, and they weren't ready. So that's the real image. They just added in.
They just added in the poop.
Okay. I've always wondered that. It's like,
Right.
why are they making those faces? They just weren't prepared at all.
They weren't
for
prepared
her
to catch
coming
this
down.
cheerleader. Yeah.
And she was like really high in the air, so it was like, oh god.
Yeah, so it was scary, and so that was a cool thing. But it was like a short-lived job for me because it just wasn't for me.
I mean, in her high school though, the people had to know that it wasn't real because
Sure, but in high school
else,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's out
I mean,
there.
it's
no
like
matter
she's
what.
getting up to go to the bathroom, and it's poop jokes as she's walking out, and here she is, 16-year-old girl. I mean, it's awful.
Yeah, that is terrible. Because seeing that meme, I just laugh and move on,
Right.
and you know,
Right, yeah.
But
As an
then
adult, you laugh and move on. But
somebody
when-
is living that life, and they're
Right.
actually. And that's the problem with the internet. Or a lot of the times, is you don't process. Wow, that's actually real. It's like watching World Star Hip Hop. Did you ever watch
Right.
World Star?
No.
Just like bar fights and the most ridiculous stuff ever. It's just ridiculousness.
It's like America's Funniest Home Videos, just guys getting
But
hit
rated
in the crotch.
R and X.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's like to the extreme. And that's why I'd watch this and I'd be like, boy, you know, I would watch it and be amazed or laugh or whatever. Then I'd think like, wow, those are real humans, and they're actually that happened
Right,
to them.
yeah,
But you don't
that's
ever
sad.
see that part of the story.
Yeah,
So
you
Steve
only
was
see the
highlighting
part
that.
where you laugh and you forget that those are real human beings that have real feelings, you know?
Man, so when you were working for Steve, which is just funny to say.
It's a crazy thing in my life. So here's how it happened, though. So I was working for Letterman. He had announced his retirement, and I had decided, okay, I had seen some other people leaving, and I said, okay, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to make this career for myself. And
The next Letterman.
I honestly thought, and there was a time in my life I thought I was going to be the next Letterman. And so, anyway.
Still could be. I mean, you're still young. There's still time.
I don't think so. But anyway, and so I was looking at job ads, and I saw this one that said NBC Universal, and I'm like, walking past 30 Rock and stuff in New York, it's a cool experience just like being near that building.
Yeah.
So I applied to this NBC Universal job. Turned out it was Steve Wilkos over in Connecticut. I was doing the reverse commute, as they call it, where I was living in New York and commuting to Connecticut.
How long of a drive is that? Every day?
Well, I took a train, but I can't remember. I think it was like 40 minutes or something.
Oh, okay. Wow, man, that's so interesting. I've always wondered what goes on behind the scenes.
So
Springer.
Maury, Springer, and Wilkos are all in the same building, all the same studio, and their staffs intermingle.
And they're
so
all legit. Like
Springer. And I don't know how much of this I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, you're right. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
matter.
don't think anybody's watching from the Springer show.
I don't know.
Here,
You never know. Well, I have friends from the show that are friends on Facebook
okay.
and stuff. So
All right.
anyway, but I will say, so they have their own staffs, but the Springer stories can be embellished. There's
Sure.
always some truth in the story. Their relationships are always 100% real. So if there's a boyfriend and a girlfriend, that part of it's real. But when they're like marrying the horse, it's probably the lady's real horse. She probably really is obsessed with the horse. She's probably not really married to her horse. Is the way I understood it.
In her
But
heart, she is.
But I didn't
not
work
legally.
directly with those stories. I worked on the Steve Wilkos show. So
And Wilkos didn't get as crazy as Springer did. He kept
Wilkos was like, his big thing was, get off my stage. And he would kick people off his stage.
Steve,
And that was the thing.
and the crowd's going
Oh,
nuts.
yeah.
Did he have a bodyguard? Did Steve then
Yeah,
get?
he had bodyguards. And
Is
that
he gonna have? They're gonna have their own show.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about this, but
I think this is fascinating.
But so there was one time I actually, in my short time there, almost got fired because, so like I said, my job was a lot with guest relations, and one of the stories we had was, and this is a really serious story, was there was a husband and wife. I can't remember exactly how it went, but there was a rape involved, and it was really, really serious, right? And anyway, they had what they called no contact guests. So there were people that couldn't see each other before they hit the stage, because there's no security guards until you're on the stage. I mean, there's security guards around, but they're not.
That's the suspense of the show, too,
yeah,
right? That's
the suspense
the
of the show,
reveal,
right.
yeah.
And so anyway, somehow it happened where they arrived from the airport at the studio at the same time. And so this girl runs across the parking lot and literally tried to gouge the other girl's eyes out.
Wow.
And God, it was scary.
Nobody got it on camera. That was
there was no on camera, and I got caught. So Steve Wilkos' wife, I can't remember her name. I think it's like Rachel or something. Anyway, I got called to her office. I mean, it was serious stuff because like they had to pay the hospital bill, the whole deal.
Oh, it went that level.
Yeah,
that there was a hospital.
Well, because
bill.
there's no security guards around, and they're
just beating the crap out of each other.
Here I am. I was about probably 40 pounds.
Oh, so you're with them.
I'm with them, greeting them at the door. And I'm like, security!
Oh, my gosh.
What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go in there.
Yeah,
because then I'm next.
You're gonna get sued if you even
who knows?
Put your hands on them or something, right? There'd be
Right.
some repercussion from that, I'm sure.
So craziest 3 months of my life. I'm really grateful for it. I learned a lot. The people that work there are good people. They truly believe that they're helping people. It wasn't for me.
That's mind blowing because when you watch those, it feels like all a giant exploitation device to make money. That's just what it feels like. So when you get behind the scenes and they actually care.
Like that. Yeah, and they do. My personal boss there at that time was not a very nice lady, but I think that she really cared. I just think that she.
You think Steve really cares, though?
I think Steve really cares, yeah.
Because Nene, my wife, watches a lot of Dr. Phil. She's been obsessed with Dr. Phil.
Oh, he is such a bozo.
She has convinced me, because I thought for years, just a complete goof. I thought, like, this guy's making these stories up. I don't know why Oprah
No, I'm sure
hired
the
him,
stories are real, but I just sometimes
She
hear the
loves them.
advice.
I know, but I mean, I don't watch. I watch like 5% of what she watches. She'll watch a really funny one and show it to me, or a really outrageous one and show it to me. And I'm like, geez, how does Dr. Phil like keep a straight face through some of these?
Right.
How does he not lose his mind through some of them? How has he not been killed at some points?
Right.
You know. But there's this one that we just watched, and this girl there's a disorder where like some people think that they shouldn't have an arm. Like to them, their arm is not theirs.
I watched a Grey's Anatomy episode about this. Yeah.
So this is a real thing. So this one girl, she thought she was blind, and she wanted to be blind, and she was like in her 30s or 40s. Like she'd gone her whole life since she was a little kid saying, you know, these I shouldn't be allowed to see. I want to be blind. So she had a psychologist put. I don't know what kind of psychologist he was, but he put drain cleaner in her eyes, and it made her go blind. And then she was on Dr. Phil and on like the doctors and all over the internet. I don't know how old the thing is, but I was just mesmerized. And I was like, because I was making fun of Nene for a while for watching these. And like, now I get why you watch this.
Well,
because
the craziest thing to me is that I don't know. These people really exist, and they're real people, and they have real issues. Why are we and you know, I love television. I've always loved TV. I've always known I wanted to be part of this business, but why do we put it on TV? Why are we obsessed with watching other people's problems instead of trying to help them? I mean, the same thing happens.
Easier.
It is easier. I mean, you go by a car crash on the side of the highway, you see 10 people stopped with their phones recording. It's ridiculous. I don't know. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, well, especially with phones now. You got to get the
Everybody
phone
has a camera.
before you help. And anytime you ever watch a video of somebody getting hurt, you have to remember, wait, somebody there was like, I could help them. I better film this instead. That's more important, right? That's crazy. There's always insane, at least one person, probably usually more than one, who are filming that situation.
I'm always the person that jumps in and tries to help and shouldn't be the person that's trying to help.
Why? You get more freaked out than they were.
No, like so. There was this one time when I was an exchange student, and there was this. It was.
Where were you an exchange student?
I lived in Brazil. I was in my junior year in high school.
Awesome.
And so anyway, there's this motorcycle. My host father owned a hardware store, and right outside the hardware store, this guy like fell over on his bike, and he was bleeding, and his like had this. And I like whipped my shirt off and like put pressure on his arm. I'm like,
way to go.
I am not a medic. I'm the last person. I don't know. I've seen a few episodes of Grey's Anatomy.
You did the right move, though. I mean, that was the move.
I think.
Right? And then tie it around.
I didn't know what I
enough,
was doing. And luckily, the real help came. But I mean,
I've seen enough action movies to know how that works. You apply pressure and tie it around.
I'm always like, I was a lifeguard, you know. I come Baywatch running in.
Your whistle. You have a whistle under your shirt. Hold on. We're going to solve
No
the situation. The music starts. The slow-mo begins. Yeah. Alex is here to save the day. Nobody worry. Nobody panic.
It would be Alex is here to save the day. Everybody worry. Everybody panic.
Everybody start freaking out. Get ready to save Alex. Within less than a minute, he's going to need some help very soon.
He's going to slip on the puddle of blood.
Then you're beside the person you're trying to help, unconscious. Oh, man. I couldn't imagine ever working on like a Jerry Springer, or I can't imagine being him. Like, that would be a weird life.
Do you remember how Jerry Springer got his career?
No, but I would think, I just want to finish this thought before I forget it. I always feel like he's like in a trance, like in a hypnotic trance, because how could you do that every day and not go bananas? I don't care how much.
Have you heard him talk about this show? He talks about it like I am highlighting all different walks of life. Like he has.
Does he really?
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. But he got the job because he was running for mayor of some state, and he wrote a bad check to a prostitute, and that was like how he got famous.
What?
Yes.
So he had hired a prostitute
and
wrote her a bad check.
And wrote her a bad check. That was,
it bounced.
If I remember correctly, I mean, I might be wrong. I might be thinking of somebody else. But I think it was Jerry Springer.
Somebody Google that. Let's find out.
Yeah, well, somebody please.
But either way, I don't care. That's a good story. I like
if not,
story.
I think that was the story. I don't remember anyway.
Even if that's not the story, I will continue to tell it to other people as if
I'm
just
going to Google this because I think. I believe that's what happened.
It's not really. I mean, you don't have to Google it. It's not
let's just say we'll just say Jerry Springer prostitute.
Your home button doesn't even work anymore. You have a totally mangled iPhone. The home button on Alex's iPhone is like dangling off. Like
yeah, I will say that it started to say American politician / entertainer. So I feel like
that had to have been Jerry Springer.
That's enough.
He was a politician and he was a celebrity. That could have been Schwarzenegger that came up. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's probably a long list. Reagan, maybe. I don't know if he's in there on that list at all. Know. Anyway. Is he in the Me Too movement? I'm not sure if he's been hashtagged. Those shows are, without a doubt, the downfall of some, like perfect, I guess not the downfall of society. It's a perfect example of like why cable television can be a really bad thing. Because it's just like taking this
I'll tell you what
ridiculous
happened
turn.
Is I was watching We TV, which I think is women's entertainment.
You know what it stands for?
I don't know.
I thought it was like all of us. We.
Oh, maybe that's what. I don't know. So anyway, they were doing Criminal Minds.
Minds?
Criminal Minds.
Oh, okay. Not Minds. Minds. I thought it was a different show. I thought it was MEINDS. Minds. I didn't know I'd crush you with that. That did it. Is that a New York accent? Is that what that comes from?
No, it's just a me accent.
Because I'm sure coming to PA, you probably experienced some hilarious accents.
No, here's the thing that drives me. I don't want to say crazy, but the thing that I notice the most with Pennsylvanians is the word "whenever."
You've told me this.
It boggles my mind. So like when you get to the stoplight, take a right. Instead of Central Pennsylvania, you would say whenever you get to a red stoplight, take a right. So like whenever I'm at a red stoplight.
It's just an unnecessary use of a word.
I don't know. Yeah, it's funny to me.
But isn't that because when I used to work in radio, this would be a topic every couple of months. I'd bring up like some slang from Central Pennsylvania, and then people would call in with all other words that we use that don't make any sense, or we use them wrong, or whatever. And
some of the stuff like the.
I just said whatever. I just said it right there. I said or whatever.
No, whatever is fine. Whenever.
Oh.
But like yins.
I thought whatever.
All those things. I actually think that stuff's endearing, but
The whenever drives you crazy. Well, whenever I decide to say it, you'll get extremely mad.
I don't get
on
mad.
the podcast.
I don't want to say drives me crazy. That's fine. I don't know. I just notice it.
But that's a funny one that I've never heard before because I think I've heard all of them. And you said that whenever one, I was like, wow, I add that to the list of random weird things.
I'm also like a
Pennsylvania
very
say.
like observant. I don't know. I notice things that other people wouldn't notice. Like for example, when we were in the kitchen today, and you were getting your snack out of the refrigerator, and
you insulted my
noticed,
lack of snack.
And I noticed that your utensil can said utensils in case you didn't like. I don't know, like that stuff. I noticed that sort of thing.
What should I put in this?
What should I put in this utensil canister?
But that solves a lot of problems. Like if you would buy that and be like, what do we put in this thing? It already says utensils on it. You don't have an option. You can't put change in there. It wouldn't make any sense. And then if somebody's like, where are all of the utensils at? Like, I don't know. Oh, the utensil container. Or if you can't think of the word utensils, you're like, what are those things called? And they're like, check out that container I have up there. Yeah, utensils. It is hilarious.
I don't think that anybody would have any of those scenarios.
If I just thought of them, there has to be somebody who experienced them
sure there was.
at one point or another. We were saying something, and then I think I cut you off.
I don't remember what we were talking about. We were talking.
It was going to be impactful.
It was the mines. That was
Criminal Minds.
That
is what ruined it. I ruined it again. I can't believe you find that funny.
I don't know why I find that so. It was just I don't even know what I was going with it though.
Something with Criminal Minds.
I think it was.
You
were talking about
binge.
cable television, and I watched like 6 episodes last night. I mean, it really wasn't a good story. The Criminal Minds was much better than
you were binging hard on Criminal Minds. That's got to be a Hulu show. Criminal Minds is on Netflix. Criminal Minds, that's
like
on Hulu.
landmines. It's just criminals leaving landmines everywhere.
Criminal Minds. That's
it's
what
like,
it is.
Did you hear that story? Oh my god, I have tears rolling down my face. It's not even funny. That's the worst part.
It might have been. I mean,
so did you hear the story a couple of months ago about the superintendent that got caught pooping on the? We've talked a lot about poop on this podcast.
Poopcast.
That was pooping on his school's football fields, and he like lost his job. This is a true news story. I'm not kidding. It's like a true thing.
That's awesome.
And so Criminal Minds, I just was thinking like maybe there was like maybe like he was one of the episodes where like it was just criminals that were leaving mines.
What if that was the full episode of the show? Like they've really hit a new low. They're focusing on the superintendent.
They've really gone to number 2.
They used to be my number 1 favorite show when it came to Minds.
It's my number 2.
Did he poop like in the middle of the football field?
No, it was like off by the end zone, I think. I don't
But
remember.
and somebody
it was like
caught
a month
him.
ago. Yeah, and so
Was he in a panic and couldn't find a bathroom, or was
I
this
don't
like
know.
a purposeful?
People are so weird. I don't know.
Because it seems like if you really had to go to the bathroom bad, you'd find a safe place.
We need somebody
to do
just
it.
here to research everything that I reference that may or may not be true.
Anybody watching this live right now, just show up to the studio with your phone and get ready to research.
Get ready to Google all of my possibly true things I've said.
That's a strange story, though, because he must have been really angry at the school, I guess. For the
Who
business
knows?
situation.
You know, people have weird things that go on upstairs.
But you'd think if it was me, I'd go to the
Or
50-yard
this
line.
kid's downstairs.
A lot of us are messed up upstairs, but he was downstairs.
Oh man!
What was their team ranked? Number 1 or
Number 2.
it was probably number 2.
It was number 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh man!
Oh my goodness. Now see, these are positive news stories that can be
These
brought
are semi-positive news stories. Oh man!
up. One of the things that with the news, because you work around newscasters all day long, you have a cool part with your job because you get to highlight the positive stuff. And it's a
Right.
shame that news is so negative. I mean, but there's information I guess you need.
I don't
want to
say that they're only because our newscast does a very nice job of showing off the happy things in our community as well.
Yeah.
But for me, it's only the happy things, and when it is something negative, it's very brief. If something major happens, I mention it, and then we move on. It's really nice. And by the way, it's something I want to do for the rest of my life. I love being able to talk about. and you can probably relate to this when you did radio. I love saying my opinion, and just saying my opinion for my opinion. There's no, that's all it is, and I like being able to do that. It's kind of fun.
I mean, you're not swayed by anything else. You're not saying it because they're a sponsor or whatever.
I'm not swayed. It's like we do 2 segments every day. One's called Today's 2 Cents, and one's called Today's Trending. And trending topic is obviously about things that are trending. Today's 2 Cents is similar, and Today's 2 Cents I do with Amanda Kenny, and then trending I do with Morgan Koziart. And what's nice is we give a topic, and then we just talk about it. It's kind of like this. And the only difference is, obviously, with television, we have time limits. And that's why, I like being on the podcast. But
that's why I liked doing the podcast, because I was in radio. I mean, the shame with TV is it can be this. Well, there's no reason why it couldn't. It's just because
the ad dollars.
Well, the ad dollars, yeah, but you could have them you could have a scroller. You know what I mean? And have go to McDonald's now, buy the Big Mac. It could be all scrolling along.
Well, I'll tell you something. We have a couple little
and I'm not talking about
things that are fun though. Like, for example, our backseat driver segment where it's sponsored by Fiore. I think those things are more. I don't want to say more effective, but I think they're as effective or equally effective. And I think I like when we can make advertising part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Where I can still playing a game. I'm still talking about things I want to talk about, but it's sponsor. I mean, that's fine, and it's not being skewed by the sponsor. But here's where you run into issues with that, right? Is that you say something that they wildly disagree with.
Right.
I don't think I would, because we don't talk about things that are serious enough to do that.
Yeah.
But you look at Kathy Griffin, who was the spokesperson for Squatty Potty, and loses. She does that Trump picture, which is terrible. It's a stool that you put under your feet.
Right, for extra bowel release.
I mean, I swear that I am not trying to relay everything back to
Obviously, you're not trying to, but it is happening.
It is happening.
This is our 2nd episode, so I mean, that's number 2, so it makes sense. Maybe that's the reason.
So anyway, she does this terrible Trump picture, which again I think went too far. But anyway,
yeah, it was stupid. It wasn't even funny. And
that was the thing. You're a comedian. You should be funny, right?
It was more.
But anyway, she loses the Squatty Potty deal. I'm like, that you've gone too far when you lose the Squatty Potty deal.
When you go that low, you've gone below the Squatty Potty.
When you've gone below the Squatty,
you're past the sewers, I guess, at that point, because the poop goes the whole way down.
Well, we were talking earlier about Gilbert Gottfried. I mean, you've done something wrong when you lose the Aflac duck gig.
Seriously.
Like, who else could do that job? He's the only one.
Aflac. I feel like I could do it. That's all he had to do. He just had a natural voice for it. But Gilbert Gottfried when I was a kid, I always thought, because I could never stand him. He drove me crazy. And I was like, I don't get his gimmick. I don't understand the voice or the shtick. People do find it funny. You were one, I suppose.
I love any of them with the voice like that.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah. Just that voice in general makes you laugh.
I don't know if it this is weird. It makes me. I find it comforting for some reason.
Really? Do you? In real life,
maybe comforting is not the right word.
You're amused by it. You enjoy it.
I'm amused. Like even Rosie O'Donnell, who doesn't make.
Yeah, she has a louder.
She has that more Roseanne Barr, same sort of thing. I think. I think maybe I'm appealed to it.
Yeah.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But what was I talking about though? Because it was extremely important. And
we were talking about Gilbert Gottfried. You were a kid. You found him annoying as heck.
Thank you for bringing it back. By the way, that was good.
Good listening skills.
Well done. That was good memory too. I think my memory was just gone with it. Gilbert blew my mind when I was a kid, because I'm like, wow, anybody can become famous. Like, it doesn't take. Like, I don't know what he was doing.
But here's the thing: anybody really can be famous.
Yeah.
I mean, we started this episode by talking about what it means to be a personality.
Mm-hmm.
What skill set do I have that an average Joe doesn't have? I don't know.
You have a personality. I mean, your personality by itself lets you.
It's
be
different,
that person.
but it's. I don't know.
And just the way you chose the path, I guess. Like, I, for some reason, always when I was a kid, wanted to be a radio DJ and a professional wrestler.
Right.
Professional wrestler didn't pan out. The radio DJ did.
I think last time I saw you had Tom's shoes on. Or similar shoe. I don't think I've ever seen a professional wrestler wearing Toms.
Those shoes are from Kmart. They were $12, and I love. That was ridiculous.
Also never seen a professional wrestler wear those?
Well, I could be a trendsetter. That could be my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always wanted to be a DJ, so I don't know what that was about me that's what I always gravitated towards. Like other people gravitate towards being a welder or an accountant or something. Like that's your personality type. If you match up well with,
and I'm not saying this I certainly wouldn't hope I would offend anybody by saying this, but are there kids that dream of being an accountant?
There are some. Yeah,
I'm sure there probably are.
But as far as like every accountant, absolutely not. But there is.
But
a small amount.
I want to retract that percent because you know what I think about. There are kids that love math.
Yeah,
and so maybe that's the correlation there.
Or it's not. Maybe it's not like that they set out to be an accountant at 3 years old, but that it just makes sense for their personality type. They're good at math. They're introverted. They can sit in front of a computer screen or whatever and crunch numbers for hours.
I think it was CBS this morning. Or CBS Sunday Morning this past week. Do you watch any of that? They had that's right. You mentioned they did this whole story on. They were calling it the Silent Revolution, and it was about introverts.
Okay.
And never mind. I forget where I was going.
I want to know what it was though.
I have no idea.
Well. Talking about introverts, though, I just took these personality tests. Actually, that gigantic packet of books is a personality test. It's like 80 pages of me. Like if you read through that, you'd understand like who I am.
Is there anything personal in here?
Oh yeah, well, there's not like stories about me, but no, it's like the DISC attribute index and
this is like a local personality test.
No, this is a really professional. Yeah, Ray Overdorf, who lives in Hollidaysburg, but he's been in business for years. We just did a podcast together about it. Actually, the podcast is on my Twitter. If you want to watch it, Rob Z Yo on Twitter, or the audio's coming soon.
No thanks.
Thank you, folks. Good night, and we'll see you next time. But what's really cool is that it explains who you are in there. So I'm an introvert more so than an extrovert.
Really?
And probably when I was a kid, like I imagine my introvert, I'm 40% extrovert. I'm sorry. Yeah, 40% extrovert, 60% introvert. And so I'm more of an introvert. Really.
Wow, that surprises me.
And as a kid, I was probably like 80-20. But I for some reason, always loved radio. And I just somehow knew like I needed to be more myself. And some people, I guess, are naturally introverts just in general, but and I can spend tons of time by myself and be really perfectly fine with it. But I also love being around people. So I think you got to find a healthy balance. So if you're an extreme extrovert, you've got to find a little bit of introversion. If you're an extreme introvert, you got to find extroversion.
I think I would be described as an extrovert. However, I'm an extrovert in certain situations. Like you and I were talking about festivals today. I'm extremely uncomfortable in that situation
because there's a million people there.
There's just a million people. There's a lot going on. It's like overstimulation. A cocktail hour, I'm very comfortable going up to people, shaking their hand, introducing myself. So
but you're also going on live TV with it too. That brings an extra level of.
Yeah, but you did it in radio. It's really no different.
And I was always different. Like I always was not myself.
But don't you think I am always more comfortable with a microphone in my hand or on a stage than I am in a room?
I don't agree with that.
No,
and that's how I know. I guess I'm more of an introvert.
Right.
Is that now when I do a podcast and I'm like just talking about my own thing or whatever, then sometimes I feel like that, but. It's weird. I go back and forth. Like sometimes I will feel like that. Like in front of a microphone, I feel super comfortable. Then other times, like it just depends.
My biggest gig I ever did. So my last market, we used to be near Fort Drum, and big army post. And once a year they do this concert called Mountain Fest, and they bring in a big country act, whatever. And I used to warm up the audience. I did it for the last 3 years. There's like sometimes 20,000 people there. That's a big crowd to be in front of. But here's the difference: is you don't see them as individual faces.
Yeah.
You see them as a giant crowd. Now, if I'm in a classroom of 12 kids, not kids, because I don't know, for some reason when it's kids I don't feel intimidated. But if I were in a room of 12 adults, 12 peers, I would be extremely intimidated.
Yeah.
Like to get in front, like for example, if they were to ask me to present to my colleagues at a staff meeting.
dying inside.
I would be dying inside. I'm like, literally, I sit and I don't know if it's bad. When we have our staff meetings, I sit literally as far back as you could possibly go in the room. I sit back with the most quiet people, and we just eat our food and don't talk.
That was me in every staff meeting ever.
Yeah.
Or just like wouldn't even show up to the staff meeting because I was like, I can't.
Do you ever feel
this.
because we're such big personalities on television, on radio?
So big.
No,
so
but
huge.
but do you think that when you meet people in person, they're like disappointed?
I hope so.
I really feel like that sometimes. Like as a matter of fact, today I was at Heritage Days in Phillipsburg, and this guy goes, "You," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You never stop smiling," and here I am, like literally
Miserable.
as focused as I could to be getting to my car. And I'm like, that guy probably will just remember that as a negative interaction.
Why do you think that?
I
Because
was
you
like-
didn't engage him.
Because he was like excited to see me. Like, hey, keep moving.
Some people might be, but that's their problem, really, because you got to understand people like can't just stop and talk to everyone. I mean,
guess.
you could,
Sure.
but it would.
And I do for the most part. In this, I was trying to get here.
Yeah, you had somewhere to go.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still, I was like, I feel like that guy was just disappointed with meeting me.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was like, I'm never watching Central PA live again. Or he was like, oh, there he is.
Won't be the first. Won't be.
Did you smile though?
Oh yeah, I smiled and
There
waved.
you go. That's. I mean, if you would have like flipped him off, that might have been an issue. But
I
the
don't.
smile and
Do
wave
you
was
do
good.
that very?
No, I have. I never have. The only time I've ever actually flipped somebody off was just recently. Outside of the building here, I was parking, and in Altoona, we live in somewhat of a small town, and whenever you there's not many parallel parking situations on a busy road. So this is kind of a busy road out here, and you have to parallel park in front of the building if you're going to park there. So I was parallel parking extremely well, might I add, exceptionally well parallel parking, because I had a 2000 Honda Civic, so it was extremely easy. It was so small. But some lady behind me lays on the horn, and I was like, "You're laying on." Like, I'm parallel parking, just let me park the car. And she was like, and I was thinking, this is insane. Like, this is insane. I didn't know if it was a guy or a girl.
In what hurry are you in? Where are you going that you're in such a big hurry that you can't wait for somebody to parallel park?
Yeah, we're not in New York City. Like, this is probably the first time somebody's parallel parked in front of her in 30 years. Maybe that's why she was so
That's
mad.
probably why.
So I backed up, and she drove by, and she gave me, like, the hands up, like, what was that? You know, so I gave her 2 birds. I gave her the Stone Cold Steve Austin with a big smile on my face, and then I felt later, I was like...
You never feel good after you do it.
The only reason I was like, okay, that we can let that one slide, because that was the first time I ever did it. Now it was like a bucket list thing. That might have been a bucket list move internally that I didn't even know about.
Was
But
it a thought process you had where you're like, I'm going to give this lady the finger, or did you just throw it up?
Whenever she drove by with the hands up, with like, what's your deal? It was like, without even thought, just pure instinct was double middle finger.
Yeah.
And
I've given
that's
the
how
middle
it is.
finger
Not that it was, it's not like
very few times in my life. Usually as a joke. The one time I was really angry, I think I was like 10 years old. My mom sent me to my room for talking back. And I forget, I think it was for talking about, it was for something stupid. Anyway, she came in my room and said, "Are you ready to come downstairs yet?" I said, "No." And so as she was walking out of my room and down the stairs, I gave her the middle fingers, and turns out there was a mirror on the wall. And let's just say it didn't end nicely. But,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she turn around like,
Oh yeah,
flip right back around?
It wasn't great, but I will say, the one time I had road rage was I was in Watertown, New York, and it's very similar to this area, like you said, like nobody.
amazing and awesome?
No, I'm as far as driving goes.
Oh, okay.
And it is amazing and awesome here. And so anyway, we get to this. So this guy is, I mean, doing the thing where he like speeds up and slows down, won't let me go around him. And then when I do go around him, he goes around me. I mean, just like complete jerk. And so we get to this stoplight, and both of our windows down. It was like a hot summer day, and I had a water bottle, and I just chucked it into his thing and went off.
No way.
And I
Man,
thought,
you should have unscrewed it.
God,
Was it
I'm
unscrewed?
a badass.
Was the bottle unscrewed?
No. It was like an
that would've
empty
been-
water bottle. It was like this, and I just
Oh, okay.
chucked it at him.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah. And then you drive away and you feel like an idiot. You're like, why did I do that?
But you did feel good for a moment.
For like a split second,
Yeah.
or 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's a small level of satisfaction there.
It's an instant gratification, not long term. for sure.
But what you've done is sunk down to their level.
Right.
And that person's already living that life. Like the lady who's behind me, and I've been the lady too. I don't think I've ever really honked at anybody in anger, but I've definitely been.
I was gonna say
road
been a
rage.
lady. Oh, sorry.
I mean, there was a period of my life where I may have actually been that lady with the same dress on, possibly. Well, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about today.
Oh man!
But I mean, I've been
so
that
giggly this episode.
I've been
I'm so
that
sorry.
person who's been really mad at somebody else and screaming in my
Oh,
car,
sure.
acting like a goof.
And where are you going? Like to pick up your Taco Bell?
Yeah.
You know.
And I have to remind myself 8 million times, like, hey, Rob, it doesn't really matter. But then I'm going to do it again in like a couple
Oh,
of days.
sure. I mean, that's the thing with road rage, right?
I don't think we're meant to, like, because cars have only been around for a couple of decades. You know, like for thousands of years, nobody had a car.
Right.
So we're not used to like this world where we're with other people, engaging with them constantly, but we can't talk to them. They can't talk to us. And we're kind of like autonomous from them. Like we're separated from these humans.
Well,
yet
that's
they're
the
right
thing
beside us.
is that we've created these things like turn signals and brake lights, and when people don't use them or have them that don't work, I think that's where the lack in communication. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was. We have had so many Oprah moments tonight. That was an Oprah moment, Rob.
Hey, Dr. Phil, call us up. We'll take over.
What up, homie?
Steve, hit us up.
But no, seriously, I think everybody just wants. We all need to listen to each other better.
Yeah, that's why I think every car should have a device where you can walkie-talkie every other car, and you can all
Oh
talk
God, I
to each
hope not. That is. You know what? I did have an idea. For
When I was a
invention.
kid, I used to think that. That's what I thought. I was like, you know what? Every car you should be able to talk to each other. Because how easy would that be? The communication level would
It
be
would
great.
be great if they only talked about that.
Oh, it'd be terrible. It would be the worst.
Oh, there'd be
thing
some real
ever.
creeps.
You'd have to have like a command, like 5 commands. You could push a command button, and it
Right.
would give them. You couldn't yell like, "Hey, you piece of garbage!" Imagine how terrible that would be.
So here's my invention idea for cars: is I not proudly have a little bit of a lead foot, and so I get pulled over quite regularly. And I understand if you do the crime, you have to do the time, right? So I don't love paying speeding tickets. I don't enjoy it, but I understand I did something wrong, and here's my penalty.
Yeah.
Now here's my issue: is what a pain in the butt it is to pay the ticket. So I think if you're going
To actually go physically pay it.
yeah, so if you're going to plead guilty, I think they should have a kiosk right on the cop car
You
where
should
you
have
can
a swiper.
swipe your card.
Why don't they have Square hooked up?
Why don't they
Just
have
have a Square set up. Yeah, you're right, dude. $180. I'm
just
done.
get it done? I mean, again, I don't enjoy doing it. I don't want to. I don't have the $180 laying around.
That's a good point,
but
man.
why can't we just pay it on the spot?
Imagine how many guilty confessions they would get if they'd be like, if you want to pay this right now, you can't just get it taken care of. Because if you've had a ticket, you know the process.
You
You've
know
gotta go
the
through.
process. It's a pain in the butt, and also, who's going to look in the cop in the face and say, "Yeah, I know, I'm going to plead not guilty."
Yeah, true. That might be entrapment. Maybe that's the reason
Maybe
they
that's
don't have
the
it.
reasoning, but I don't know. I feel like there should be a way to just swipe your card and be done. It's really a pain in the butt.
It's like going to jail.
Even
too.
their
Don't-
website.
Don't go through all the filing and stuff. If you can just get me right to jail, just send me right in. I don't want to go through these months of like trials and stuff. Oh,
Right.
it's-
By the way, it's such a pain in the butt when I'm in jail eating those sandwiches. If you could just throw it in a blender for me, it'd be great.
I'm so tired of chewing food. Aren't you sick of chewing food?
I'm so sick of chewing food.
I've always told my wife I just want a pill. I'd love a pill food.
No,
that I could just eat.
actually opposite of that. I really enjoy eating.
I want to get it over with. That's how I've always been. Not that I don't enjoy it. And wow, this is funny, man, because last night, Nene and I were talking. She loves food. Like her life revolves
I'm the
around it,
same
and
way.
she's so passionate about it. And I love food, but I don't bite something and I'm like, oh man. And then she showed me David Venerable from QVC, who's he's hilarious, over the top, like everything
Really
that he does
excited
is like,
about everything.
"Oh, this is
Yeah.
amazing." And I've done that like several times. So I said, at least when I really, really enjoy something, because I will go over the top. But normally
Which
I don't.
surprises me because you know how we met is we went to breakfast together and
At
you woke,
Mammy's.
but we
Yeah.
woke up at like 3 a.m.
And We never slept that evening. I had to stay up the whole time
I mean,
just to go.
in all seriousness, it was like 6:30 or something ridiculously early.
I didn't sleep the whole night. I was just so anticipating Mammy's. I was so excited.
So you must enjoy that food enough to wake up that early.
And Mammy's was one of those situations where I went and I was like, this is amazing. Plus the atmosphere. You know, if anybody doesn't know, it's in Martinsburg, Pennsylvania. So it's like farm country.
Sure.
And it's this like hometown restaurant, and they make all their own pastries and like.
It smells good for like 2 blocks away.
Yeah, and the donuts. Like I've never had better donuts in my life.
Me either. As a
Like,
matter of
if
fact,
if I work there, I'd
when I'm
wait.
eating food and then when I finish it, I'm like, I wish I wasn't done. Like I don't want that flavor to stop being in my mouth.
My favorite Louis C.K. quote is, "The meal is not over when I'm full. The meal is over when I hate myself." And maybe that applies.
Right, but so you really don't enjoy eating food.
Sometimes it takes like eating lunch. I like eating dinner, sit down, enjoy dinner. But I usually like to eat my food while doing other things. So like lunch, I'll eat it while I'm working. I don't like separate. Now I have to go to lunch and sit here and eat lunch for an hour. I'm usually doing other stuff and breakfast the same. I mean,
I'm not a big breakfast eater, which they say is bad. You should eat breakfast every day. But
breakfast.
I'm not a big breakfast eater. Lunch, there's days where it just depends on how big of a dinner, I guess, because how hungry I am by the time lunch rolls around. But yeah, dinner, I wake up in the morning and think, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? I'm like your wife.
what about Lupper? Do you eat a lot of Lupper? That's between lunch and supper.
Yes, because on the show we have a lot of chefs in, so it's 4 o'clock.
Oh, right. You're eating Lupper every day.
So if we have a chef in that day that the food's really good, and that's what or they bring enough that I can eat that as a meal. That's what I have as my dinner. And so a lot of times though, like people like want me to share with like the staff like on our show like wants me to share, and I'm like, oh, like no, I'm eating this all. This is for me.
This is the point of me having this job.
Yeah, exactly.
Free dinner from local chefs.
If you can imagine like having a chef come into your workplace, the whole place smells like the food.
Yeah, so everybody's hungry.
So everybody is like, oh, what is that? That smells so good. I'm like, oh yeah, it's delicious.
And it's also gone.
Yeah.
We got to be gone though too, man. Let's wrap this thing up because
alrighty.
I gotta run. But
hey, thanks.
This has been a lot of fun.
Oh my god, I hope you have me back again, and I hope you'll come over to our show sometime. I know I said that last time, but you really are welcome whenever you want.
I would love to, and I'd love to have you back, and we'll just talk about random, ridiculous things.
Yeah, we can talk about.
Here's the great thing about having you on is like, I mean, there's not like really a topic. Just kind of, this is what I love about podcasting. It's just like a conversation that goes anywhere.
Right.
We could steer it if we wanted to.
We talked about. I mean, it might have been good to have some topics prepared.
No, I think it worked out perfectly. So if people want to find you, how do they find you?
Twitter, ahazard19. I'm just getting back on the tweet game. I didn't do that for a while. Facebook is my most prominent stuff, just Alex Hazard, and same with Instagram. And then, of course, Central PA Live, everything. CentralPATV.com. It's all there.
It's all right there, folks. Have a wonderful evening and a beautiful tomorrow. Until then, this is Rob Z and Alex Hazard.
Oh, my God. See you later.
That was my news voice. I was just... Give me a shot. My man Jake Over dropping fat beats on the podcast. Yes, so any music that you hear on the podcast from now on, you'll notice I dropped like the old theme song. I dropped the outros and all that crap because, listen, I wanted to spice things up a little bit, and my man Jake is an incredible music producer who doesn't get enough credit. So he's from where I live, Altoona, Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. He's a music producer. He makes beats, and he's also, he's produced albums for people, and he does it all out of his house, I believe. Right, Jake? Where are you at, Jake? I got to get him back on this show. But this is like one of his beats. So all the music you hear on the show from now on is from Jake Over. Jake Over. Find him on Facebook. He's awesome. And if you're looking for beats or whatever, he's the dude to go to. This one's called Slammer Time. I love that. Slammer Time. If you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/Rob Z Radio. Alex Hazard, so much fun to talk to. He's just easy to talk to. It's easy conversation. He gets it, man. He can flow. He can go and really talk about whatever you want to talk about. He's right there with you. So shout out to you, Alex. Thanks for being an awesome dude, and thanks for bringing the personality to Central PA Live, to our local television. And I think he's going to do bigger things as time goes on. He's young. He's like 26, I think. So he's got a long ways to go in entertainment, and I appreciate that about him, that he has a passion for it, and he loves what he does. Speaking of loving what you do, Trade Secrets, Stephanie Height and her husband Andy, they run Trade Secrets, 1223 13th Avenue in Altoona. So it's passion. That's what drives their business. All natural body care products. Everything they create is researched in-house, developed in-house. You walk into the back, Andy's got the place like a freaking mad laboratory, but not full of like weird potions and crystal meth. No, it's full of things that will help your body, like sugar scrubs and bath bars and soy wax candles. Did you know that deodorants like Old Spice and stuff like that, like there's aluminum in an Old Spice? I never knew that deodorants had aluminum in them. Like, why the hell am I rubbing that on my armpit? That's just weird. So if you're looking for ingredients, if you're looking for items that don't have any added ingredients, look at the ingredient label on a bottle of shampoo sometime and prepare to have your mind blown. Because I never looked at it until I met Steph and she told me about it. So if you want all natural products, nothing added except for the things that you need to keep your body healthy or to make you smell good, so you don't smell like a dirty hippie. You can be a clean hippie at Trade Secrets. 1223 13th Avenue in Altoona, Secrets and Trade on Facebook. And shout out to my dude, Alan Coble. Alan teaches me Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a white belt with a stripe. Listen, I'm not ashamed of it, man. I'm moving slow in the game, but Alan's a purple belt. That's why he trains me, because he's way above where I am. I love jiu-jitsu. It's changing my life. It's been over a year that I've been taking it. I'm going to get him on the podcast, by the way, someday. He also teaches CrossFit. He's certified level 1 and 2. He's a certified personal trainer and strength and conditioning specialist. Sports Evolution, sportsevolution.net, Facebook and Instagram at Leading Athletes. As always, thank you, everybody who's listening, for being a part of the show. Thank you for being a part of the podcast. It means a lot to me that you listen. It means a lot to me that you tune in and you actually check these episodes out and hear what I do and what other people in my world do. It's fun. This is just something fun I love to do, and I would encourage anybody out there to do a podcast. Do some form of video. Do the podcast live on Facebook, and then you can, upload the audio later. That's what I do. Every episode that I'd say 90% of the episodes that you listen to, you can find on my Facebook, Rob Z Radio. If you go to Facebook, Rob Z Radio, you can watch live. Sometimes they're on my Instagram, Rob Z Radio. Sometimes they're on my Twitter, which is Rob Z Yo. So you can find live episodes of the podcast. If you want to put a face to the voice when you're hearing these episodes, that's the best place, the best way to do it. I'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much. I love you all. Chowda, I'm outta space, race, chase. What am I doing?
This is Rob Z Radio.